Well, folks, it has been 1 year since we moved to a new place and decided to go into the nursery business full time. And on today's video, I want to kind of walk you through the last year and show you how we got this business started from nothing and got it up and running, and how, at least in the first year, we have survived. And let's kind of just go through it step by step and look at what a brand new nursery business looks like in its first year, the highs, the lows, what we did well, what we didn't do well at all. Let's have a look at that on today's video. Well, it all started when we bought this 6-acre piece of vacant land, and it was just a field where I don't really know what this field had previously been used for. Our neighbors have told us that at different times there had been cattle or hogs out here. It used to be a big watermelon patch, but there's no sign of any fences for animals or anything like that. So it was just an open and empty field. So we bought the place and we put a fence around it, and we decided to start to develop it so we could build a nursery out here, a place where we can have lots of customers coming in and out every day, and also a place where we could live. And we set out to do all of that at the same time. Among the very first things that we had to do out here after we got the fence built is we had to put in some gravel in order for us to be able to access this place. I mean, there was no road out here. There was when you turned off the road, there was not even a place to park without getting stuck if it had rained recently. So we had to get a lot of gravel put in. We did that in 2 separate phases, and we ended up with about 600 tons of gravel that we put in, like 1.2 million pounds of gravel that we had put in out here for our parking area, for our area where our shade houses are, and just a place that is not ground, like it's not dirt. So this has been foundational to everything else. Well, pretty much everything else that we've done in the nursery is having a place to do it, and our gravel has served us very well in that. And then from there, we had to build our shade houses. Shade is just an instrumental part of having a nursery, because by the time the heat of the summer comes, even late spring here in the deep south, the sun is really hard on a lot of plants. So just getting some shade cover of any kind over them, just kind of dampen the sun just a bit, it helps the plants tremendously. So we had to get the gravel in, and we had to build these shade houses. And of course, we just built them one at a time, and we learned how to do that as we went. And that was kind of a big deal for us, because it was kind of defining your space. Here's a space, here's a space, here's a space, on where your plants were going to go and where they were going to grow, and kind of how it would lay out and display for customers. So, putting these things together one thing at a time, like anything else, is the way that we did it. And then after we got those done, we had to start getting irrigation put in. And so far, I don't know how many feet of irrigation pipe we've put in out here now, because we've expanded it 3 different times already. So I'm going to say we've probably got 1,000 to 1,200 feet of irrigation pipe in out here now, and we've got room to irrigate a lot of plants, probably as many as we're going to be able to handle, at least for a while. So that was another big part of it. There were no utilities here at all either. And then once we got all of that put in, before we could open the nursery, of course, we had to have a sign made, and we put the sign up ourselves, and we were so happy with how it looked out in front, and many people have commented on it and how visible it is, and even our neighbors up and down the road have said how much they like the look of this place. So we've been really happy with how things have started. And all the while those things were going on, we were working with our plants-wise as far as getting plants together for opening day, and we were aiming for April the 1st. It's going to be about 3 months, January through March, getting everything ready that we could open by April the 1st. Now remember, we've never tried to do anything like this before, and we didn't even really know what, quote, opening day should look like in order for it to be a good day. Now, our presence is out here off the beaten path. We live out in the county. We're not on a main road to anywhere. So we knew that we were going to have to get the word out and let people know that we were out here, which proved to be its own challenge. We didn't have enough plants. We had a terribly cold spell just over a year ago, right at Christmas time, that killed a lot of plants. It killed a lot of our plants. So a lot of the things that we were planning on selling died. So leading up to April the 1st, there was a lot of anxiety about how this was going to go and how we were actually going to pull this off. This is a 180-degree career change for me. I've never tried to do this. I've never worked in a nursery, and there is no plan B for what are we going to do if this doesn't work. So for us, for me, things had to fall into place, and I had to be able to pull things together as much as I could to make this work, because this is how our family was going to survive. So leading up to that April 1st day, we did everything that we possibly could to be ready and to have plants ready so that when customers did actually come, that there was something here for them to buy. So then on the night of March the 31st, when we're going to be opening at 9 o'clock the next morning, we had a severe weather outbreak in our area, and I really pay close attention to those types of things. We live in a mobile home now, at least until we can get a house built, and I pay attention to severe weather. I'm just kind of a weather nut, and I pay attention to those things. And we were having a pretty significant severe weather event on the night of March the 31st, and our community storm shelter is about 8 miles from here. So at about 2 o'clock in the morning on the night of March the 31st, hours before opening day the next day, I had not yet gone to sleep because I'm up watching the weather, and we got put under a tornado warning, and a significant tornado was moving directly in to our area hours before I'm opening this nursery. I'm grabbing my family out of the bed, jumping in the car, and here we are running to the tornado shelter about a 10-minute drive from here, right before we're set to open the next morning. We wound up getting back home at about 4 o'clock that morning, and no tornado hit, at least where we were on our exact property, and of course we were very thankful for that. So I wound up getting about 2 or 3 hours of sleep that night, and then the next morning we all came out. We had plants to move, we had things to clean up because we'd had a lot of wind that night, and our first customer got here about an hour and 40 minutes before we actually opened. And I'm just telling you, I was absolutely thrilled because it confirmed in my mind that at least somebody was probably going to show up that day. So then opening day came and went, and we were very busy, at least by any reasonable standards that we had set for ourselves based on the number of plants that we had, based on our location being a brand new business. We had a lot of customers come through on that first day, and we made over $3,000 that day. And, you know, for a brand new nursery, I could not have been more excited about it. And in my mind, I could not stop thinking that, man, this is going to work. Like, this is actually going to work. We're actually going to be able to pull this off. And we knew there was a lot more work to do. We knew there was 1,000 things that we had to learn and figure out, but that confirmed so much in my mind and in my heart and in our plan that I knew that we could make this work. So it was such an exciting day for us to have all these people come and go in just one day on April the 1st. And then our problem was, how are we going to fill this nursery back up with plants? Because we just sold pretty much everything we have. So then we sold a ton of plants on that first day, at least for our little nursery. And it was very quickly evident that by the next weekend, and that was our plan, was to be open again the next weekend. It was kind of, let's just do kind of a grand opening kind of thing, and let's be closed for a few days and kind of figure out what we need to do next. So then the challenge for the entire rest of the spring became, how do we keep up with plants every week? And it became a real sprint. You know, normally somebody's going to say, oh, it's a marathon and not a sprint. Well, listen, in the nursery world in the spring, you got about 9 or 10 weeks to make hay. So we're talking April and May, at least in my region where I live. You got April and May to make the majority of your money for the year. And I knew that. So every week I was running around trying to find wholesalers to buy plants from, and there are no real wholesalers around where I live, and I had to drive a lot of miles really on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, those days, 1, 2, or 3 of those days, every week trying to find as many plants as I could find. All the while, we're still growing our own plants here, and those are coming ready to sell as we go. So it's not just what I could buy and sell by any means, but that became the challenge for us, is how much money did we make this week, and then how much of that can I spend on plants for the following week. And we tried to do it every week as big as we could so that we could have more varieties, and so that it wasn't just the same plants week in and week out, because a lot of the same people would come to our plant sales every week and see what new stuff we have, and that was always exciting to see who came back. But that was the real challenge for us, is just keeping up with everything. That's just something we felt like we did not have a great plan for, and we didn't really know how to plan for it. But so much of this first year has just been learning, and we've written down a lot of things. We've taken a lot of mental notes so that hopefully going into this next spring, which is only about 3 months away, hopefully going into the spring, we're going to be a lot more loaded and ready to go from day one than we were in this first year. So then that got us all the way through the end of May, and by the second weekend in June, we were just about ready to be done for the season. And when I say done, I mean we were out of plants. I mean we were basically out of plants. I don't mean zero, but a lot of the plants that we had, they were really starting to look bad because of the heat. And you can only keep a plant looking so nice in a small pot that you're not going to pot up. And we decided to have kind of a end of the year clearance sale, and we did it from 9 a.m. till 11 a.m. one morning, and in 2 hours we did, about $3,500 in sales in 2 hours on one morning. But it got us to a place where we could just stop and call time out for the season, kind of see where we were with everything, look at how much money we had made, and kind of plan for what we were going to do next. And for us, that meant that we were going to take the entire summer to grow plants and propagate plants and get ready to sell more plants in the fall. So then we got into the fall, and what I'm calling fall is basically the month of September. And in 3 weekends in September, that would be Friday and Saturday, 3 times in September, I had actually bought in a bunch of trees, and I mean trees that were 8 to 10 feet tall. I decided just to try that for a fall sale, along with mums that we had bought in, and we had a whole bunch of hydrangeas that we had grown out through the summer that were really nice. We had grown out some perennials by then, and much to my surprise, I just can't even tell you how pleasantly surprised that I was, but we had 3 really good weekends in a row in the fall. And that was another thing that I learned this year, is that, yep, you got to make hay in the spring, that's for sure. I mean, almost with an attitude of desperation in the spring, like we got to do it, we got to do it, we got to do it all spring long. But the hunger that people have for plant buying in the fall is really not a whole lot less. I mean, there's a lot of plants to be sold in the fall, and I mean, I didn't know that. Well, I know it now, and it's not just this one plant. It's not you got to have mums. Well, that was a fair part of what we did, but we sold a ton of hydrangeas, perennials, screening trees. If we had had annuals like pansies and the like, we probably would have sold them. I didn't have any, but we probably would have sold them if we had them. So I guess what I'm saying is all these little steps along the way serve to really build my confidence in what I'm doing going into 2024. 23, it could have gone better in a lot of ways, but so many good things happened that it helped us to know we can totally do this, and we can do it for a big chunk of the year and not lose our sanity in the process. So fall sale was great. It further affirmed some great things in my mind, and after that, it was time to kind of button things up for the year. Now, 2 things also that I want to mention that were really big deal for us, and this may almost sound trivial if you've been in the nursery business for a long time. I have not been. So I've mentioned this in my previous videos through the year, but kind of as all of this was going along through the year, as we were selling plants, growing plants, we're also building out all of the infrastructure for our nursery, which means more irrigation areas, more gravel work that we had done to just serve our own family better with a driveway and an actual parking area at our house for my family. That was a huge part of the work to be done this summer. But as we built out more and more infrastructure, one of the things that was a real light bulb kind of moment for me this year is how well overhead irrigation works for plants as opposed to hand watering. Now, just from previous years growing a small number of plants in a small nursery in my backyard, I kind of had in my mind how long it takes for this plant to get to this size and be ready to sell. Or, whether that's an arborvitae, a perennial, a shrub, whatever it might be. Well, this year, and this is a great discovery, but this year what I realized is that overhead watering, when I say overhead, all I mean is sprinklers. That watering your plants with sprinklers causes them to grow a whole lot better than hand watering does with a water hose. Now, there's some times when I've had to use a water hose for various reasons, for this or that, or we didn't have irrigation in place yet, and I had to do it. But there's no comparison in how well your plants respond. All I can figure is that they get watered slower. So you may have water running on them for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes instead of 2 or 3 seconds as you just splash them real heavy with the hose. And instead of all of that water just rushing through and going out the bottom of the pot as it does in hand watering, you have a much slower, sustained soak. That's all I can figure the difference is, and in turn, it's going to take that slow-release fertilizer and it's going to utilize it better than just flushing it out the bottom of the pot. But what that caused for us was our plants grew faster than we thought they would. Well, that's one of those great problems to have, but we had a lot of plants come ready to sell faster than I anticipated, so being able to sell those sooner than I really wanted to was really a good thing. But going forward, it helps me to know, okay, I can get this plant to this size maybe a full year faster than I've done in the past simply because of overhead watering. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a fantastic discovery for me. So for the remainder of this first year, and I mean calendar-wise, this first year is over, but we're going to try a couple of more things here that I've never tried to do before. The first of those is fruit trees. So I've got a load of fruit trees that I got to go pick up in mid-February, and we're going to try to sell those here. I've got 140 of them to go pick up. Also getting 220 blackberry plants that day. But what we want to try to do is I'm picking those up on a Monday, and I want to see if I can sell them by that first weekend. So, 5 days later, I want to see if I can get those things sold. But I've never tried to sell fruit trees. They're going to be bare root. So, I'll be able to sell them cheaper than people can buy them at most places. And it's just trying to offer something unique and do something different. And, if that works out, then we'll do that again next year, 3, 4, 5 times as big if it works out this time. So that's going to be another thing that I'm going to just try and see how it goes. And the second thing is, and we totally missed this last spring, is this spring from our opening day, we're going to be ready to go big on annuals, and we're going to be trying to grow some of our own vegetable plants to sell this year. The demand for vegetable plants last year was huge, and we only were able to get a few flats of them. So this year, we're going to try our hand at seed growing our own vegetables for our sales, and we're going to show you guys all that on our videos and learn how to do it as we go. We're not experts, we're just trying to become experts, that's all. So there's more in store as far as what we're going to learn and what we're going to try and what we think we need to do to continue growing this thing in the months to come and in the year 2024. Hoping to have a great year in the nursery this year. So while 2023 was our first year and it really was about surviving, and we knew it was going to be about surviving. That was not a shock to us. We didn't think we were going to absolutely kill it in our first year. 2024 is going to be more about thriving. At least that's our hope, and that's what we're working towards. We know that we still have a lot to learn. We know that we've got a lot of production that we need to increase in. And I mean, growing our own plants through propagation and through buying in plant starts. There's a lot that we need to increase in and do more and more in virtually every area of our nursery. We know all of that, and we're going to continue to improve in all of those areas. But 2024, we're hoping, is more about thriving, and we really look forward to the year to come. In fact, it's the very end of December. January 1st is right here, and I'm already so excited about April. I can't hardly stand it. There's a lot of work to do between now and then, but I'm already anxious as can be, and I'm looking forward to it. So, guys, that's it. Listen, happy New Year to all of you watching. I really do appreciate you being with us each week. I love y'all, and I'll see you on the next one.